For this video, I'm going to be talking about Amityville 2, The Possession. Last year, I did review the first Amityville horror movie for my 31 Days of Horror review series. I think I established pretty much that I wasn't the hugest fan of that movie, or of the series in general. Like the first movie, it was okay, but Amityville horror just not really my thing, not like the biggest fan of that series. But I did want to talk about Amityville 2. At least I want to talk about this one, if I never talk about any of the others. I want to talk about this one because I will say that this is actually the best one, I would say. Out of all of them, I do think it's the best. So it is actually a prequel to the first movie, so it shows, it tells a story about the first family who lived in the house, and the murders that occurred there, and the supernatural entity behind all of that. It is based on a true story, which I can't even say with a straight face, because there were real murders in the Amityville house. But I wouldn't call myself an expert on it, but it seemed like there was nothing really supernatural about it. They just kind of tagged that on to sell books, I guess, which we're always fascinated with true murder stories, but also about paranormal stories. So that's kind of why probably it's been as a lasting story and franchise as it is. So maybe in bad taste to, take this true story about these true brutal murders and add ghosts and demons and stuff to it. But, whatever. It's fiction. I will say that. It's fiction inspired a little bit by reality. So there's that. This movie takes off in a different kind of direction. It does somewhat have a different tone. I'm going to try to pronounce the director's name. Directed by Damiano Damiani. An Italian director, Damiani, and it is written by Tommy Lee Wallace, who went on to do Halloween 3. I think V.C. Andrews did an uncredited rewrite to the film as well. But one person got that. I think it's a good movie, and kind of the reason why is because, okay, yes, we do have this ghost story to the movie. We do have essentially the same shit that we had in the first movie, where creepy things are happening with the house, and things will move on their own, and cheesy ghost stories like that. But I think what is interesting about this movie is the family itself that lives in the house. The father of the family is Burt Young from Rocky. He has his 2 daughters, 2 sons, his wife, and right off the bat, there's almost like a little trick that the movie plays. You see the mother and daughter walking up to the house all happy, singing something from Sound of Music, I think, and then the father's like, "Oh, what is this, a musical? Shut up!" And then, that's my Burt Young impression. Horrible. But you get the sense, okay, so it's not the happy family, and it's not. This is actually an extremely abusive family, an extremely dysfunctional family that lives in this house. So you do have the ghost stuff, you have the haunting stuff, but you have something very real in the abusive, dysfunctional family, which I liked in this movie, because it takes a real life horror. That is, it taps into something quite horrifying. And I think, people who will watch this movie may see something, a little bit truer to that, as opposed to, the perfectly happy family who's just put under torture by this horrible ghost. No, this is a deeply troubled family, and, obviously this results in not quite the happiest ending for them. So the structure of the movie, at least maybe for the first hour, is with this family and the haunting that occurs, and ultimately leading up to the mass murder that occurs. So there's definitely, good stuff in between. Some of the camera work is actually really good in this movie. There's one shot where it's showing the reflection of the family in the mirror. Then once they start praying, that disturbs the spirit, so it crashes down. And I thought that was really well done. There's even some, it seems like Evil Dead inspired kind of stuff, where there's one scene where the son is alone. He has the rifle. And the camera is going upside down, it really much like an Evil Dead type of shot, which I thought was done pretty well. And so yeah, it has the effective ghost stuff, but it does have the extremely dysfunctional family, where they're not the perfect family. There is abuse going on, and there's highly dysfunctional elements to this family, including the brother and sister character who they do have like an incestuous relationship, which is like not something you'd see in this type of movie usually. So I mean, I'm surprised they went there. Like they actually full out go there pretty much, where they don't like graphically show a sex scene or anything like that, but it happens. Meanwhile, like Game of Thrones writers are like, oh, that's cute. But anyway, it was something of a ballsy move, I guess. And whether or not you'd say it's absolutely necessary to the plot, I think it does add to the elements of the movie where, it does display a very, very high dysfunction to this family, where this family is off, absolutely off. So I thought that was interesting. And when it leads to the murders, I think it is pretty scary, actually. The whole scene, with the murders, it's brutal. Like this movie doesn't pull any punches. This is kind of so much the real deal. But I guess so much the problem with the movie is after the murders take place, where we're somewhat invested in the family. But then that all turns into sort of like a trial, and then more like an exorcism. So one thing I'll say about this movie is that we don't really have a character to follow necessarily. You would think maybe the father character, like it was in the first movie, but no, not so much. Burt Young, not so much the hero of this movie. Not even the son character, who I think what's the actor's name? Andrew Prine, or no, Jack Magner plays son in the movie. This is pretty much the only movie he ever did, except I think he has a small role in Firestarter as well. You kind of think, okay, maybe he's the main character, which he sort of is, but then you sort of think, okay, maybe the priest is the main character in the movie, because it's really about him finally exorcising the demon out of the son character, which is kind of what it all amounts to in the end of the film. So I mean, it's a little disjointed. I do think it's like, if, say, it's an hour and a half movie, only the first hour is with the haunting in the family. The last half hour is about the priests and the son who had committed the murders and the exorcism that takes place. And, when it gets to that, it's not bad. Like, some of the effects are pretty good. Like, they show, like, kind of like the bladdering of his face, and I thought that was all done pretty well. But we've seen it done a lot better in like The Exorcist or something like that. So it's kind of sort of trying to have that kind of vibe to it. So I don't think it's bad in the last act, but I do think the first hour of the film is the strongest. So I think if they led up to all that a little bit more, maybe just took maybe 15 minutes or so with that final possession, I think that would have been adequate. So it's a little disjointed of a movie, but you know what, I do think this is a legitimately scary movie, which is not, I can't say that too much about a lot of haunted house movies. A lot of them don't work for me, but I think because they had that added element of the flawed family instead of the happy family, I think that added to a very real kind of horror to the movie that others I think lack. So I think this is worth checking out. I do think it's a better movie than the first one, and I do think honestly, yeah, it's the best Amityville horror movie so far, at least. So yeah, that'll be my review. Amityville 2: The Possession. Check it out. Until then, thanks for watching. Plenty more horror reviews to come. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.